This is a sea buckthorn shrub and I'm facing a peculiar problem in how to pollinate this shrub. Now this is native to Spiti and Ladakh where I got it from, where it grows in the wild and it pollinates itself without any problem. But in an orchard setup like this, it is going to be an issue. One thing I know about the sea buckthorn is that it's a dioecious plant. Now what does that mean? Dioecious plants are plants which do not have both the male and the female parts, which means that it is either a male shrub or it's a female shrub. Now for example, this cherry tree which is blooming very beautifully behind me has these flowers which have both the male and the female parts. The male parts, the stamen, as well as the female part, the pistil. Both are present in these flowers. But this shrub is either going to be a male or it's going to be a female. Now this tag over here tells me this is a male sea buckthorn. Now the male sea buckthorns have these sacs. If you see the sacs are yellow in color. These sacs are the ones which are under these tiny leaves. These sacs are producing all the pollen. And unlike the flowers of this cherry tree which are going to attract all the bees and the pollinators because they're so attractive, the sea buckthorn with its thorns is not going to attract any bees. It does not require any bees. What it really requires is wind, because the sea buckthorn pollinates itself via wind. Now, like I said, this is the orchard setup. This is not the wild. Now, I have to come in with my little brush over here and help this shrub pollinate the female sea buckthorn, which is a couple of feet away. And I'm going to do that by hand using this paintbrush. I've hand pollinated the cherry trees, the apricots and plums, but never hand pollinated a sea buckthorn. So it's going to be my first time. So all that I'm going to do is I'm simply going to look for these yellow sacs under these leaves, dab them with this paintbrush, hopefully collecting all the pollen on the tip of this brush, and take it to the female sea buckthorn shrub and dab it on the flowers on it. Now this is the female sea buckthorn tree and I am simply going to dab the undersides of these leaves, hoping that these are the flowers and hoping the pollen settles over there and we have some delicious sea buckthorn berries this year. Now, apart from the berries which the sea buckthorn gives you, sea buckthorn is also a nitrogen fixing shrub. This fixes nitrogen in the soil, and if you plant it between your other fruit trees, it's going to also distribute nitrogen to its neighboring trees. And here in this case, we have a cherry tree over here. So the cherry tree is certainly going to benefit by having sea buckthorn, a nitrogen fixing shrub like the sea buckthorn, as its neighbor. So the sea buckthorn has multiple uses. It gives you berries, it fixes nitrogen, and it is also a medicinal plant, highly valued in Himachal Pradesh. It grows in Spiti in Himachal, and in Jammu and Kashmir it grows in Ladakh. Now there are two varieties of sea buckthorns that we have in the world. This variety is called the Hippophae salisfolia, if I am pronouncing it right. So this particular variety has a different shape to the leaves. It's got what is called the willow shaped leaves. They're a little longer than the other variety. The other variety is called the Hippophae remanoid, if I am again pronouncing it correctly. So those leaves are different, those I think broader leaves, and this one has longer leaves like the willows. I think I've exhausted the pollen completely again, And I'm going to run back to the male sea buckthorn and dab some more pollen on this brush. So what I'm additionally going to do is collect the pollen if I can, because these sacs are coming off, and I am going to collect all of them in my hand like this and then rub my brush over it, because that way I'll get more pollen on my brush to use it on the female sea buckthorn. Now if you look at this female sea buckthorn shrub, it does not look very different from the male sea buckthorn shrub. It also has these tiny yellowish sacs under these leaves, but if you notice, these sacs are somewhat pale yellow compared to the male sea buckthorn shrub. The male sea buckthorn shrub has somewhat a darker yellow, which I guess is where the pollen is. These I hope are what the flowers are, or at least the female parts. Now these yellow sacs that you see on the male sea buckthorn are somewhat brownish, maroonish. This is more yellowish compared to the pale yellowish of the female sea buckthorns. So this is hopefully where the pollen is. And this is another sea buckthorn shrub growing on the upper terrace. We call it the fish pond terrace because that's where we have the fish pond. And this is also producing these pale yellowish protrusions under the leaves. So we are hoping that this is where the flowers are, or at least the female parts are, and hoping that these are going to turn berries this year. This is the third year of their plantation. We planted this in 2022, like I said. So in the third year, it should start producing at least some sample berries. Ideally, the ratio between the male and the female shrubs should be 1:5. And I just have identified one male sea buckthorn shrub on my farm, and I hope to find some more. So this is the only time that I can identify or tell apart the male sea buckthorn from the female. The male at this time of the year is producing these pollen sacs which tells them apart. I found one male sea buckthorn shrub, and I hope to find some more because the pollen is exhausted, I think, of that one male sea buckthorn that I have been getting the pollen of. So I need some more pollen from some other male sea buckthorn shrub. This is the tallest sea buckthorn that we have on the farm. This has a wider spread as well. A lot of these very vigorous branches spreading all over, and this will certainly require a lot more pollen than I have on this brush.